Yeah. So let's get into like process for learning new technologies. Like when you encounter a new technology or body of knowledge that you want to learn about, what is the general approach? And maybe we could try and take the example of when you first encountered blockchain.
Yeah, same approach every time. Learning is for suckers, doing is for winners. So I think you told me this too with China. You and I talked about this with Chinese. So I was learning Chinese. Remember this discussion forever ago? And
Yeah.
I was like, Dan, I'm learning Chinese and I started doing this podcast or something, but I'm stuck. I'm stuck between the beginner lessons and the intermediate lessons. The beginner ones are too easy. The intermediate is too hard. And I said, what do you do, Dan? And do you remember what you said?
I probably said like throughout the lessons, like go talk to people in Chinese. No?
You said, fuck it, go to the advanced ones. That's exactly what I did. So the progressive learning, this is all dumb. The progressive learning is not how you learn. That is how kids learn. And maybe that's for kids, but the adult learning, the way you learn as an adult is you do things. And so for programming or for technology, the answer is you must every time have a project. A full MVP. I'm the master of MVP. That's another thing. So MVP. The MVP of learning is producing. So there is no learning for learning's sake. People don't learn things unless you're a kid. And kids learn auditorily, so they learn because they like to repeat things through their mouth that they hear through their ears. Kids are different. But as an adult, after 12 or something, you learn with the goal of an outcome. And so for technology and things in life, I immediately start with I want to make. So if the goal is I want to learn how to solder, the answer is not I want to solder things onto a board. The answer is I want to make. So I just bought this for my daughter's 4, and we're going to teach her how to solder. So her goal is not. So I got 2 of these. One of these is for me. So this is surface mount practice. So this one's for me, is because I haven't soldered in a year or something. So I'm going to practice on this before I work with her. And then hers is not I'm going to learn how to solder. It's I'm going to make a radio. And she likes music and she likes radio and she likes different channels. So this is going to be her project. So you never tell a kid, well, as a kid I'd be looking at it, but I'm not going to tell you, hey, let's go learn to solder. It's, hey, let's go make this fun new thing that works when I hit buttons. And that's how you learn. So for blockchain, same thing. I mean, the whole beginning of blockchain is a whole way that I got sucked into it. But when I decided that I was going to do NFTs, the thought was, I saw the opportunity of how to get into NFTs, and I saw where I needed to fit in, which was this standardization process. But in order to do that, the goal was never to standardize or to learn. It was I need to build. I need to get right into the making. And so I made my own NFT project as a demo for the future, really for me, for the future me in building things. The story was a little crazy how I started learning. So I decided that I needed to learn Ethereum, blockchain, smart contracts, NFTs, this type of stuff. And so I went on Upwork. I was reading the documentation. The documentation sucked, just was not usable. And I said, okay, I'm going to hire somebody, and here's how it's going to work. This person is going to, so I made a job description. I said, you're going to write me hello world in Solidity, which is the programming language. And you're going to give me 2 hours of one-on-one chat. And that's going to be enough for me. I can learn anything in 2 hours with an expert. So that's the pitch. You're going to write me hello world. It's going to compile. You're going to talk to me for 2 hours, and then I'm going to know this. And I paid $3,000 for this.
Wow.
$3,000.
Who did you talk to?
2 hours?
I'm in Russia because very few people were available. This market was very hot. So he took my $3,000. We scheduled for the next Tuesday. And Monday comes, and he texts me. He sends the money back. He says, sorry, I don't have time for this. The market's too hot. Sends my $3,000 back to me.
Wow.
I was like, okay.
That's crazy.
So if nobody on Upwork is going to take my $3,000 for 2 hours of talking to me, then I even more so need to learn this stuff. And then I just set the goal. I said, okay, screw smart contracts, screw learning. I'm going to make an NFT. People don't even know what an NFT is at this point. So that's what I'm going to make. I'm going to make this. And I'm going to plow through everything that doesn't work. If the documentation doesn't work, I'm going to fix it. If the compiler doesn't work, I'm going to fix it. If the language is wrong, I'm going to fix it. And I plowed through. The NFTs, I know I'm probably known for the ERC-721 part, but the contribution is also the ones that they didn't pass, the competitors to ERC-721, which were canceled, the language improvement, the compiler, the standardization process. It's like you're driving a train and then you're building the track in front of you as you're going. Like that's what this was like. But I was focused. I knew where I had to get to, and I knew everything that was broken, and it was just through sheer will. I guess in Animal Farm, I'm the horse. So I'm just pushing very, very hard on this, and it worked. But that's also, and people say, wow, isn't that the hardest way to learn? Like, isn't there easier ways to learn? No, this is the easiest way to learn. This is how you learn things, is you try, I mean, you have to be focused. I'm not saying it has to be hard. I'm not saying you have to look at bits and bytes instead of words and paragraphs, but you have to have a direction and you have to focus on that. It's like people ask me, how did you learn Chinese? My Chinese is pretty decent, especially the pronunciation. And they say, oh, I go to China. They're like, how long have you lived in China? I've been like, I've been here for 2 weeks. I don't know. And the answer is, and they say, well, how do you learn? And the answer is, I play cards. I play cards with people back in Philly. And I invite people over and we play this game called Sanguosha. And I played this card game. And that was the reason why, is because I wanted to play cards. I didn't really care so much about Chinese. I like cards. And this, in the US, we only have Texas Hold'em, which I don't play anymore. So the only way I'm going to play cards is if I meet other people that play cards. The only people that play cards are Chinese people. And the only cards that they play are this game called Fight the Landlord and this game. So that's how I learned Chinese. And then, so that's the question is learning, right? So, people in China say, okay, well, that's the hardest way to learn. I said, no, that's the easiest way to learn. That's the only way to learn. Class is for suckers. So going to school is not how you learn things as an adult. Now, as a child, again, class is great until about 12.
Yeah.
I think this kind of reminds me of like my first year of college. So I went to like the US when I was 18, and then like my English like was not good at all. So at the time, and I only learned from like the books, sort of the tests. And then the first year of my college, I'm the only Chinese people in my dorm. So there's 12 people.
Yeah.
We're living in a suite. We're living in a suite, and then like the first year, like my English improved so much, like I know a lot of stuff and know how to speak and know how to say those words in a particular way that people understand, instead of like a book English. So yeah, it's like exactly you go into do the stuff and then you can learn way quickly. Then you just stay at home.
Well, let me compare that to my roommate. So my roommate was Chinese when I was living in Philly, and she did not want to learn. That was not her goal. And she managed to get through 2 years of grad school in Philadelphia and not learn English at all.
Yeah.
Cheating on every test, refusing to mingle. She had other goals in life. She wanted to get married in the US. That was really her goal. And to a Chinese person for reasons. And so I'm saying, like, don't just say because you showed up here that's why you won.
Right.
So Michael didn't win because you just landed here. You won because you decided that you're going to win.
You're right. Right.
Yeah, and you engaged. You could have just went and found a bunch of other Chinese students and had,
but that would be too sad for me
every day. Too sad.
No, like I mean, that would be like So I wanted to, it's a more. I wanted to know like their life. It's so different at the time. I was really curious, and then and then I was like, I wanted to join their conversation instead of just sitting in my room. So, but I know a lot of friends that, they kind of afraid, of new environment. And then so they just, kind of have this habit not talking too much sometimes, and which I think is really bad for themselves, like for their personal development. Yeah. Maybe let's like after, so since you introduced like the learning process of getting to know blockchain, and you learned that really fast, and like you came out with the ERC-721, which is so groundbreaking. And I'm actually really curious about like the process of, how do you what kind of consideration that went into it when you're trying to build the NFT standards. And did you know at the time that this will be like having such a big impact and it become so popular afterwards? And we want to talk more about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I did expect this would be this big. I expect it to be bigger in different ways, in boring ways, not like money ways or getting rich ways, just pervasiveness. And that's my vision for NFT is pretty expansive. I think it's going to change commerce, wholly, but in ways that people don't even notice, which is fine. And so that was what I thought about it coming in. The process, the paper itself, so we're talking about this paper called ERC-721, which is the specification for NFTs on blockchain. You can actually do NFTs without blockchain, but these are the ones that are on blockchain, which is mostly where people recognize them. And so my contribution academically here is to help write this paper. So I'm the lead author of this paper. We had 4 authors, and the paper just explains technically how do you do this on Ethereum, and then there's a lot of explanation on why we made these choices. Now, that's the paper. The paper it's okay, and if I could write it again by myself, I would have. There's things I would do differently. It's not perfect, and there's not going to be a version 2. The reason why is because the whole point of this paper is to make everybody agree on the specification. So the cool thing about this paper is that there is not a competing one, and that people that want to do this thing are all compatible. So if you're making one of these things and I'm making one, they can both be traded with each other using compatible software. These are called marketplaces or places that you buy and sell NFTs. So really the process here was a little bit technical, like making it work and testing, and that was half of it. And the other half was entirely political. Getting people to agree and to adopt this. This was the only standard, I believe, on Ethereum at the time, or maybe still, that was accepted unanimously. So everybody agreed. So everybody who participated agreed that this was the way forward for this. And that was the accomplishment. Because if you want things to be compatible, you don't want somebody forking you or stepping aside with a competing standard. So the process here, the way that I learned and the way that I did this, I did a couple things. Everybody was here and they wanted this to proceed. Everybody wanted NFTs in this space. Everybody in this space of developers with Ethereum, making blockchain stuff. In the scene that I was in, they wanted a path forward for NFTs. And you're not seeing my hands. You're only getting half the conversation. There we go. So everybody was here and they agreed that they wanted a path forward. Problem was this process was moving too slowly. And some people were embarrassed to talk because they were new here. So this is the pitch I gave. They went from not knowing anything on the scene to being in the middle of NFTs. Here's my pitch. I said, my pitch is, I'm going to iterate quickly on this. We're going to make new drafts every time there's an improvement. So we're going to get to the goal as fast as possible because we're going to keep iterating. And I have a lot of time for this. I'm going to dedicate time. I'm going to work any time zone to get this done. And number 2 is I'm going to give all of you my phone number. So I'm going to talk to you individually. If there's anything you want to say, I will hear every one of your ideas. Sometimes as programmers, it's very easy to get theoretical and like, this is the best approach, or all the ideas suck because they're not mine. And some of that is rooted in the fact that some engineers don't communicate enough. So they're not sharing their ideas. So really, if it's called not invented here syndrome, and there's places that are famous for it, I think this speaks to a lower human wanting to communicate. So as an engineer, it manifests as, oh, I want to be communicating. So the way I communicate is by having this complete product this idea that I deliver myself, and that is my communication, and I'm not going to share anything until that. And maybe that's too polite or whatever, but on the outside, the way you see that is this is somebody who's not a team player, they're not communicating, and they're reinventing everything all the time. But it's the same human feeling. Another way is if you can pull these people out of the tunnel and talk to them, then you can get those same ideas earlier and put them into a product that more people are going to use rather than waiting for them to finish. I think it's the same thing. I think this is a engineer-specific way of manifestation of I want to communicate. It's not ends up as not invented here. So I sort of recognized that because I saw it happening. I saw some people taking ideas, burrowing away, working on a big project, and this is unacceptable. You can't have multiple NFT standards. In 2017, it would not result in what we got out of it. So I said, okay, if you have these ideas and you don't want to share them to publicly in a wide audience, just call me. Here's my phone number. Anybody on the scene of NFTs from 2018 has my phone number, and we talk through it A to Z. And the people, they're smart people. Sometimes they just weren't ready for criticism. They hadn't been in open source before, and that was the solution. So by talking to people on the phone, making drafts constantly, I was able to navigate this, not to the best product, not to how I would have wrote it myself, not to the thing that everybody needed, but instead to the thing that had zero dissent and was good enough to publish, and that as fast as possible. And that was the product. Delivered fast, with everybody agreeing, and it's been around and it'll be around for years, and it unlocked what we got.
That is actually pretty impressive. So, because for the first time when I was in the trying to learn stuff, and I learned the whole blockchain, joined the community, my sense was that there are so many smart developers like working in there, and they have to be smart to work on some of the projects. So you have to have become a polymath to learn stuff by yourself. And then, I'm not sure, after you see this stuff, like the whole process, that's actually what drove, to put them together and drove them into progress. So because like open source community as such, is at the same time is pretty creative, but it's also scattered. So how do you build stuff? So you still need like what you did for the NFT community, and also the process. Having that process to make it work. And also is there any right now particular aspect of blockchain that you or NFT that you currently piques your curiosity, or is your current research subject of research that you're trying to work on?
Yep, for NFTs, I'm focused on the long term, which is just making better products in the real world. So the digital NFTs are less interesting to me. Physical NFTs are way more interesting. And so you buy a thing and then you can verify that it's authentic, or you can verify that it seller claims. So I spelled out, basically my goal is that I want to make things that you buy able to be verified. You can verify the authenticity and the seller claims. And that's really wide reaching. So that includes a lot of different angles. That includes checking the contents of things, verifying, if you buy something and it says, oh, this is carbon neutral, it's really easy to just put a sticker, this is carbon neutral. And I don't care specifically about carbon neutral. This is just one example. So you buy a thing and it says carbon neutral. Well, it would be better if there was a QR code and the person who certified that as carbon neutral said that, not just the person selling you the thing. So, when you buy stocks, when you buy equities, the equities are registered. And you can verify, there's a website in the United States for all the exchanges and in Hong Kong and other places, and you can say this is a registered security. When you see that this is a registered security, and you know all the rules that are attached to securities, all of the anti-fraud things, you can be confident that you're buying a legitimate thing. But don't listen to the person calling you to self-certify. That's not they're not a reliable person to be certifying their stuff. Certification should be third party. So when you buy stuff, the certifications should be verifiable. this whole process of verifying things ties directly into NFTs.
Right. And I think there are some of the concept where, because but in China, like I saw like, I think couple, I don't remember what, but I think some milk or something. They already starting to doing that kind of stuff. But I'm not sure that they are really like using like, let's say working on Ethereum or whatever public blockchain. But they kind of like embracing the concept of trying to, you know, just get verified directly from the source, and to have that, you know, so you're more safe and having more security on what you kind of buy and purchase.
I think China is a great place for the next phase of NFTs. I think that would be great. I was just in China and I did not see that on any milk that I bought. I would love to see that. And China's got this nice, China has a reputation for food quality issues. And yeah, I think, I don't know if it's in the 5-year plan now, but China can pick up a focus on these things and work very hard across verticals to achieve the solution. Right. So that's why I think China's good for this. The US is interesting too, but it's much more fragmented and it can take many more years to achieve something like this. And the result will also be fragmented. So you won't have one thing that works in a lot of places. China, it will work with WeChat and it will work for everything, you know, in 1 month.
Yeah. Right.
And then people get in trouble. And if they make milk that's bad for you, milk powder, then they kill you. They literally kill you. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You make milk powder with bad stuff in it, they literally execute you.
Yeah.
So
there was like huge accident, like I think it's 10 years ago for like the baby milk powder, and then that kind of like just bring a lot of social like angers towards the whole industry. Yeah.
Yeah. So you gotta harness that anger to make political, you know, difficult decisions, like requiring industry to do things, make better products. But in the US, you can see all the time there's fraud and there's rarely any consequences at the highest level.
Right.
But yeah, so the whole point of NFT in this scenario is accountability. So your question is, where do I look to the future for the NFT? The future of NFT is accountability for commerce in general, big types of commerce. There's also going to be a lot of performance tickets that are going to be NFTs.
Yeah.
That's going to be a major consumer-facing application, specifically in the entertainment industry. You're going to see a lot more connection between individual fans and the artist. And that's going to lead to all of the things we've been doing with digital NFTs and pictures of animals and parties for people that have pictures of animals. All that stuff, all the best parts of that, if there's any, are going to directly come to mainstream with people that go to concerts. Edit that out. People that go to creative performances. The biggest names in these industries are working for creative performances, are going to have all new types of engagement. And this is really good stuff.